The Krorvanian High Command had made this mistake before, 5 centuries ago, when they'd underestimated a human colony ship and lost 3 star systems. But institutional memory was short, and arrogance was eternal. Admiral Thekvor studied the tactical display showing the lone human vessel drifting powerless in the Nexus void. The ship was ancient by galactic standards, maybe 200 years old, with outdated hull plating and primitive energy signatures. One survivor detected, reported sensor operative Zilk, her chitinous fingers dancing across holographic controls. Human female, life signs weak. The ship appears to be a research vessel. Designation, Pandora's Hope. Thekvor's mandibles clicked with amusement. How poetic. The humans always did have a flair for dramatic naming conventions. Deploy the boarding party, he commanded. Bring her to interrogation. The council will want to know why humans are operating in restricted space. Within an hour, Dr. Sarah Chen was shackled in the interrogation chamber, her graying hair matted with dried blood from the gentle extraction process. She looked up at the towering Krorvanian officers with calm, calculating eyes that should have been their first warning sign. Dr. Chen, Thekvor began, his translator converting his clicks and screeches into standard Galactic. You are in violation of Treaty Clause 847. Humans are forbidden from entering the Krorvanian expanse. Sarah smiled, an expression that made several guards shift uncomfortably. Treaty Clause 847, she repeated softly. That's the one you signed after the Kepler Station incident, isn't it? The Admiral's confidence flickered. The Kepler Station incident was classified at the highest levels. How could this lone researcher know about it? That information is classified. Yes, I know. Sarah leaned back in her restraints, somehow managing to look relaxed despite the energy shackles burning into her wrists. Tell me, Admiral, do you know what happened at Kepler Station? Thekvor's secondary arms twitched, a nervous tell among his species. Of course he knew. Every Krorvanian military officer knew. A single human had infiltrated their most secure research facility and stolen their quantum displacement technology. The entire station, 3,000 personnel, had simply vanished without a trace. That was different, he said finally. That was a military operative. You're just a scientist. Sarah's laugh was soft, musical, and absolutely terrifying. Just a scientist. Yes, that's what they always think. She looked around the chamber, noting the positions of guards, the location of blast doors, the subtle hum of shield generators. Tell me, how many of your people remember the first rule about humans? There are no rules about. Never assume the human is helpless, Sarah interrupted. That's Rule 1. Rule 2 is never assume you know what a human is capable of. And Rule 3. Her eyes glinted with something that made hardened warriors take a step back. Never assume there's only one. The lights went out. Emergency illumination flickered on, casting everything in hellish red. Alarms began screaming throughout the ship, and Thekvor's tactical display erupted with impossible readings. Sir! Zilk's voice cracked with panic. Multiple contacts decloaking throughout the fleet. I count over 300 vessels. On the view screen, space itself seemed to unfold as ship after ship materialized from perfect stealth. They were sleek, predatory things that moved with disturbing organic fluidity, technology decades ahead of anything in Krorvanian databases. Pandora's Hope to Krorvanian Command came a voice over all frequencies. Sarah's voice, impossibly, since she was still shackled in the interrogation chamber. You have 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally. This is your only warning. Thekvor spun toward the prisoner, but the chair was empty. The energy shackles lay on the floor, somehow unlocked despite requiring 3 separate authorization codes. How? Nanotechnology. Sarah's voice came from behind him. She stood calmly by the blast door, which should have been sealed. Microscopic machines in my bloodstream. They've been mapping your ship, disabling your systems, and broadcasting our location since you brought me aboard. I've been awake and working for the past hour while you thought you were interrogating an unconscious prisoner. The Admiral reached for his sidearm, but his hand passed through empty air. Sarah held the weapon, somehow having acquired it without anyone noticing. "Surrender," she said simply. "Never." Thekvor activated his command codes. "All ships, open fire. Destroy them." The Krorvanian fleet, 247 warships, unleashed everything they had. The void lit up with plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and exotic particle beams. Every shot passed harmlessly through the human vessels. "Holographic projections," Sarah explained conversationally, as she watched the Admiral's expression collapse. "The real ships are elsewhere. But their weapons are quite real, I assure you." Space around the Krorvanian fleet began to tear apart. Not explosions, something far worse. Reality itself was being surgically altered, excising the alien ships from existence with mathematical precision. "What are you?" Thekvor whispered. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen," she replied, walking toward the viewport where his fleet was being systematically erased. "Xenoarchaeologist, quantum theorist, and architect of humanity's Omega Protocol. We've spent 5 centuries studying you, Admiral. Learning from that first encounter. Preparing." The last Krorvanian vessel winked out of existence, leaving only empty space. "You see, we discovered something interesting in our research. The Krorvanians have excellent record-keeping, but terrible pattern recognition. You make the same mistakes over and over again." Sarah turned back to the Admiral, who was now alone, his crew having been transported away along with his ship. "This time, we decided to be thorough." Thekvor looked around the empty interrogation chamber that now floated in open space, somehow maintaining atmosphere and artificial gravity. "You're going to kill me." "Kill you?" Sarah seemed genuinely surprised. "Oh no, Admiral. You're going home. You're going to report to the High Command exactly what happened here. You're going to tell them about the human fleet, about our technology, about what we're capable of." She gestured, and a small escape pod materialized beside him. "But Admiral," Sarah's voice followed him as he stumbled toward the pod, "make sure you tell them something else. Tell them that this was just one human, one old scientist with a broken-down research ship. And tell them that humanity has 14 billion more like me." The pod sealed and launched automatically, carrying the sole survivor toward Krorvanian space. Behind him, Dr. Sarah Chen stood alone in the impossible chamber, watching the stars with ancient, patient eyes. She was, after all, just a scientist. But she was human, and that made all the difference.